All right, everybody, here we go. Chapter 10, Researching Insights and Solutions. Talking about data, the raw numbers, the spreadsheets, the charts, the graphs, the things that get us excited. Okay, maybe not, but they do give us tools to develop insights. Now, the thing to keep in mind here is that the data are not insights in and of themselves, they're simply numbers. Now, the numbers can lead us to insights, but just being able to spit out data doesn't necessarily mean that we're smart and insightful. Observations are experiences drawn from real behavior that take one step further than raw data. Now, these might, kind of come off as being somewhat subjective. Usually, though, they're going to be defensible in some way, shape, or form when we derive them from a base of hard data. The numbers can lead us to make at least a hypothesis about something. When we make these observations, these hypotheses, they begin to put the data into context so that you can build a useful, inspiring, and action oriented insight for your client. So, what is an insight? Insights are a distillation of data points and observations that an agency or client can use to build powerful solutions for their users. An insight not only outlines a data found truth, but also offers a path to connecting with your client's users in an effective manner. So you're basically taking all the numbers, you're taking the observations based on that data, and you're trying to make that information work in a particular situation. How can we use that information to our advantage? What do these things lead us to in terms of various action steps that we can take? Let's take a look at some places where we can make some mistakes. One mistake you don't want to make is to have a goal that's not focused in the right way. You want your research to have a goal in such a way that it helps your client succeed and that it helps your client get results. You don't want to have goals all over the place. Again, you want to keep things rather simple. You want to focus on most likely just one main thing, maybe a couple of things, but generally you don't want to be all over the place. You want to interrogate to understand what the client needs from you. This means looking at what your client wants to solve, framing it in human terms, and researching for that problem. Now, when you do this, you want to try to put the information in such a way, put your insights in such a way that you're making things easy to understand. You're trying to look at things from a human perspective, that it's not just filled with a bunch of terminology and that the information's kind of nebulous. You want it to be focused in such a way, and that you're really putting the information out there in the intent of clarifying what your client needs to accomplish. So you're not trying to hide anything. You're not trying to mask anything with the numbers and data. You're trying to make things clear. So what is and is not useful to your client's needs? It can be easy to focus on what seems interesting instead of focus on what your client needs and requires to succeed. So sometimes we can nerd out on some of the information that we have available to us. Some of the numbers, some of the features and the gadgets and all that sort of thing. But if they don't really answer the question, what's this going to do to improve the situation of the client, then it's superfluous information. It's not needed. If the data points do not show a path to growing awareness and growing sales of your client's tablet line, then they are not useful to your insights. So how do you manage the data that you find? It's helpful to use a document or slide making software and to learn to screenshot anything that seems potentially useful. It helps us to be able to actually see things as well as hear them. That we use as many senses as possible to get us to be immersed in the information that we have and to get our clients to be immersed in that information. Data should be researched and stored in broad categories. Here's a couple of categories that you may put them in. The user, this is research that teaches you about how people who already use the brand's products behave and how people who might one day use the brand behave. Categorize it in terms of industry. Look at things like industry trends, consumer sentiment, and competition. In terms of products, search and comment various trends, reviews, and unboxings and the competition of a particular client's product. And the culture. What's the connotation of the brand or the product to the public? Is it well respected? Is it mocked? And why is that? What makes it special or infamous, depending on the situation? Now, here's a theory of data. Data here is being defined as any credible numeric source of consumer behavior. It's a more rigorous form of information than just receiving some sort of anecdotal evidence or, what we might consider hearsay. Well, so-and-so says blah, 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 blah. That's one isolated instance of a thing that may or may not have happened. When we look at the numbers, it's a more objective sort of thing that we can start to make some summarizations on. Data without analysis and interpretation is not useful to your client. So again, you need those observations and insights. You don't want to just show the numbers. You want to ask why the numbers are the way that they are. And your interpretation of that, your answer to that question, is where you're going to add value and become a true partner of the client. This shows that you are investing in them and what they need and showing them how advertising can help to impact the things that they need. Now, big data. Big data is a term used to describe massive data sets now available. These are generally data sets involving millions or more users, usually nationally or globally, but they're easily filtered for demographic variables. There's all sorts of ways that we can parse out the data that is collected online these days. But there are some caveats here. It was assumed that these huge data sets would tell a marketer the truth about consumer behavior, brands, purchase intent, and social engagement. But the thing of it is that many times we behave online differently than how we do in real life. So there is a certain amount of usefulness here, but you also have to look at that data in light of what drives human beings, what behaviors they have online, and how they underlie the numbers for their specific client needs. So sometimes the numbers can be telling of us in terms of how we deal with things online, what our true behaviors are compared to what we do in the public sector. Sometimes, though, it's the other way around. Now, your role with big data as a media seller is going to be twofold. First off, you have to know and understand the private big data collections that you have access to. What are the numbers telling you, and how are they telling you that? Is there any kind of a skew to them? What's the margin of error on the data that you're receiving? You also have to know the public data sets available to everybody that's out there and be an expert in using those, not just the proprietary stuff that you have access to. Sometimes the public info that's out and about can be just as telling, if not more. Some current marketing challenges when it comes to data. Brands generally do not have access to every data set, and they also suffer from internal bias. We're always going to look at ourselves or at least put ourselves out there in the best possible light that we can. Does that mean that when we look at data, that we sometimes misconstrue the data because of the biases that we have? Yeah, sometimes that's true. Sometimes our own personal thoughts and feelings can lead us astray from what the information is really telling us, or that we put a different spin on it in a way that's not really helpful to our situation. So you, as a skilled, impartial, and honest media seller, become an enormous asset to your clients by helping them to be able to see other people's point of view, the public's point of view, the competition's point of view, and perhaps put another light on the data that they have received, that perhaps there's a different story that needs to be told. Now, insights. You will know you have an insight that is useful, inspiring, and engaging to your client when it is based on real data and behavior, when it reveals something about the consumer or the user, when it makes you say, yes, yes, that is true. That, in some circles they'll say, that'll preach. Things that we can kind of, just jump up and say amen to, if you will. The things that, we can't help but recognize that the truth is the truth is the truth. Also, it provides the platform from which you can solve your client's specific problem. So when you have these good insights based on the data and the observations that you've made, there's this momentum that comes with it that says that there is a realistic action step to these things that we have encountered. Insights are powerful tools for selling media because they are based on a human articulation of your client's need and are inarguably useful to them. This is the distinction here of insights as opposed to opinions, as opposed to assumptions. They don't do that. We're taking a look at the information we have available, trying to make some educated guesses, but they're not marred by any sort of bias or any sort of assumption. We're trying to objectively look at the data we have and make some assessments. Now, how do insights drive success? Insights allow your clients to accomplish several goals at once. They have a bias in factual data and human truths, giving marketing a head start. So, again, we're dealing with real information here, not just things that we're assuming. They help your clients look at their business from a new perspective, maybe opening up new lines of product or new consumer targets. This can lead to new lines of media buying as well. So you may be able to come up with new opportunities that had not been realized before. Also, insight-based marketing shows the brand's audience that the brand understands them, creating brand lift and improved sentiment. Because just as much as our clients appreciate it when we reach out to them and show them that we care, the same's going to happen for a company that realizes new information and responds to that for the benefit of their clients. And insights bring focus to brands that have several campaigns currently in market, acting as a kind of North Star that can pull together disparate messages. So if you've got things that previously were all over the place and you're able to hone that in onto one main idea, that creates a benefit for a company as well. It gives them something to focus on, something to reach as a hard and fast goal, and that creates a benefit for everybody involved. So with that, we're going to take a break and we'll finish up the chapter over in the next video.